Hey everyone. Recently I've been trying to get onto this training course at work, this AI apprenticeship it was called. I don't think it's an apprenticeship in the traditional sense where I learn on the job. It was just a 1 day a week online training course that we were being provided by an external provider. And today was supposed to be the day that we heard back whether we were successful or not, and unfortunately, it looks as though I was unsuccessful. Now, this isn't necessarily the case because we were told our organisation would be told themselves by the external organisation today who the successful candidates were. And I wouldn't put it past the organisational development team, so the people who were supposed to inform us whether we were successful or not. I wouldn't put it past them to just forget to send out the replies today, or perhaps they themselves received it quite late in the day and, they're putting it off for tomorrow or Friday. But I've kind of just accepted in my mind now that it's unlikely that I've got on. So I feel a bit bummed out, to be honest with you. It's something that's been on my mind for, I think I've brought it up every other video that I've recorded since the start of the year, and I don't know what to do now, to be honest. But I thought the first thing I'll do is go home and make a video about it. I wasn't planning on doing an unedited, unscripted video today, but I'm almost proud of myself for having the confidence to just turn on the microphone, start recording, put it together and post it. So I'll start by saying why I think I didn't get this position. I'm fairly sure around 100 people applied, so there was only a 25% chance of getting it in the first place, but I was quite confident initially that I put forward a good, strong application. I had solid ideas as to what I would do with this apprenticeship and how I would use the time, but reflecting on it, I'm not sure if I was really the target audience, in the sense that I work as a laboratory scientist, so I'm doing a practical job. They themselves might have thought, this is a computer-based apprenticeship. Why would a laboratory scientist be using this? What would they get out of this? Yeah, he's got some fantastic ideas as to how he would use the time in apprenticeship, but why would we give it to him? The second thing is that perhaps I might have sounded too competent in the application process, as if I had already known too much about what we were going to learn, because I had some very detailed ideas as to what I would be doing during the apprenticeship process. At the initial meeting, I got the impression that the target audience was pretty much just office workers, older office workers perhaps, within the organisation who had pretty much only just learned what the internet was and thought AI was, something they'd seen in the Terminator movies perhaps. But what were my real reasons for wanting to do this? Okay, so the real reason was because you'd get 1 day off work every week. So I'd only be working like 4 days a week then. 1 day working from home, and once I'd completed the course material, I could use that time for real personal development. And that would primarily focus on making these videos, so making more videos. I really liked the idea of documenting the whole process as well. So if you've ever watched YouTube videos or channels on, I think it's quite common in indie game development where people are both teaching the skills that they're learning during their indie game development process, but also vlogging it as well. So the things they do outside of the development. And I always find those very interesting. It's like the kind of life I'd really like to live. But yeah, let's talk about disappointments then. So in my situation, you don't really have many disappointments. You don't have many successes, but also not many disappointments. I don't really expect much in life. I live the life of a loner, as I always say. I don't really have any friends, or I don't have any friends. I don't have anyone to talk to, apart from my work colleagues, and they're not really interested in talking to me. When these things happen, these successes and disappointments, they kind of hit differently. So let's start with successes to begin with, actually. And the only real success that I can think of in my entire life, where I was pitted against other people, so in a similar position to this, was, well, when I got my job 10 years ago. I was interviewing for science-based jobs all throughout the country. I had several interviews, or quite a few interviews, and I never heard anything back from most of them. I was really desperate, but the place I work at now, as soon as they offered me a job, I took it and didn't bother with any more interviews. And yeah, now I'm here still, after 10 years. Oh Lord. But when it comes to disappointments, they really hit hard, unfortunately. And I'll give you a couple of examples now, some quick examples. So, thinking back to, let's say, my first ever real relationship, that was something I don't think about that often, but it was really tough for me. I just dropped out of university, so I was studying politics at university. After 2 years, I decided it wasn't for me, so I dropped out of university, mainly because I was addicted to playing World of Warcraft, and at the exact same time, my partner, or my girlfriend, I suppose I could say now, of 2.5 years, she just broke up with me. And it was a long time coming, but I was young and inexperienced, so I didn't know anything about what to do. In my mind, all I had to do was keep spending money on her, keep buying her things, and the relationship would continue. But, well, I'm sure you all know that isn't the case. And this was a very important lesson I learned. I learned that you can't buy someone's affection. Either they're interested in you, or it's fizzled out and they're no longer interested. I found that it's quite rare that they eventually will reignite the interest over time, and constantly spending money on them, while they might accept things either out of politeness or they just want the thing, it's not going to end well, unfortunately. I'm very grateful for learning that lesson though, and while I did waste thousands of pounds back in, oh god, it would have been, well, whenever 2010 was, 16 years ago, I wasted thousands of pounds. I feel as though I got off lightly, because let's say we continued, we took things more seriously, we got to the next level, maybe we'd have gotten married, and I would be in so much more financial ruin if things continued, and eventually again, you know, I had the disappointment of her leaving me. Another example is more recently, and that was when I was living in my organisation's accommodation for free. So I'd got in a situation whereby they were letting me live there for free, providing I did some additional duties in the evening, and that was great. I was able to save more than 100% of my wages, which I was amazed at the time. I was starting to get into finance and investing and thinking about, you know, if I can continue this for a while, I can retire early, to be honest. I could get myself a nice house, pay it off, and have enough investments to retire early. Anyway, after 2 years, they massively increased the workload of people in this situation, and I had to interview for it, which was kind of strange. And unfortunately, I didn't get the position. The only successful interview I've ever had is with my current job, so I didn't get the position. I'm not very good at interviews, it seems. After that, I did decide I never really want to do an interview again if I can avoid it. And I think actually that sparked the idea of content creation in my mind, or looking online to see if there's any sort of way of surviving as a backup plan, something along those lines. But I was so disappointed. My plan in life was ruined. I was having to start renting like a really horrible room in a shared house, which was so miserable. I had terrible housemates. My dream of retiring earlier was just shattered in front of my mind, and I was so disappointed. So what do I do normally at least what have I done in the past when I'm in a situation of being massively disappointed? Well, you can probably guess if you've listened to some of my past videos, and the first thing I do is I buy a massive bottle of gin, and I just get really drunk. So that's what I do in the past. I just try and drink away all the problems. For days, weeks, you know, when you're really drunk, you don't think about the problems. You're like, well, now is all that exists. I might as well just do what I can to enjoy it, to numb myself almost. Perhaps that's what I was doing, looking back on it. But now, what will I do? Well, like I said, I'm trying to reflect on the positives in life, the good things in life. I've got I've got my house, there's no problems with it at the moment. The roof has stopped leaking since the repairs. There are no more expensive repairs at the moment. I'm sure there will be. I've got my job, my small pension, my health. The weather is very nice outside for a change, although I do prefer it when it's cold, I will say. I prefer the miserable weather. And yeah, what I will do is use this creative outlet to make YouTube videos and online content. I found it really, really helpful, as if it's like a therapist for me almost on the side. I get to scream into the void, talk out to any listeners out there. I really appreciate any views I get, any comments. I love reading them. It's so strange for me. Like, I don't talk to people normally, but I feel really, really happy to read in and hear any comments. And you know what? Maybe I can still make some sort of series, like I was talking about at the start, like a day in the life, week in the life series, and actually work on something. There must be something I can do. Like, maybe this is a blessing in disguise. Perhaps if I was successful with this and I got onto this course, they would be very unhappy with me vlogging it and so on, because it's quite an expensive course for my organisation. Well, they've got some kind of fund for it, but I don't think necessarily they want the information getting out there of what I'm up to and what it's like. They want to control any information that gets out there, so perhaps I wouldn't have even been allowed to do it. And now, why don't I teach it to myself anyway? I can use AI to generate myself a curriculum, work on it, build the things that I would have built anyway, but also build other things that I'd be interested in, other digital tools, perhaps even like little video games and such. Perhaps I can get into live streaming myself doing these things, and perhaps I can do the weekly vlogs. That would be really cool, I think. So yeah, perhaps it is a blessing for me, and I'm really enthusiastic about these things now. I'm so glad I started making these videos. If anyone's actually listening this far in, I really think you should do the same. If ever you find yourself in situations where you're feeling a bit down, just make a video, talk about your problems. Maybe you're just talking to yourself in a room, but maybe not. Maybe there are people out there who are in similar situations, and they'd find it helpful to hear someone else is going through the same thing. While the things that I tend to go through are probably quite pathetic sounding to the average person, so being disappointed for not getting onto some like really specific niche training within my organisation, despite my life being fine and being disappointed otherwise, I'm sure people do get disappointed over all kinds of things which I wouldn't be able to necessarily understand. But anyway, this was just supposed to be like a short 2 or 3 minute video, and look where I went. I'm so glad that I'm not drinking anymore and I'm able to do these things, and I'm looking forward to the future, where all this goes.